Oh. Wait, Amanda, do we want to do this on our personal IGs? Wait, let's see. Okay.
Wait, am I?
You're on as Define and Empower, yeah.
God, okay, sorry for all the technical.
We're just millennials figuring out Gen Z technology.
Like, I'm too old to be doing this. I have to do taxes or something like that.
Wait, sorry, I can't hear you.
Wait, hello, can you hear me?
Yes. What did you just say?
Oh, I have to do taxes because I'm a millennial.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did get some money back. That's the only reason why I do it.
Honestly, but really though, I'm afraid to make enough money to where they actually have to take out taxes that I can't get.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay. We won't think about it like that. I think at a certain point, we'll be just in such an abundant place that like taxes just don't fucking matter.
Yeah. You're right.
How have you been?
I've been pretty good. I'm just trying to catch up with all of this work and stuff. But even with like working on Define and Empower stuff and trying to make a plan for the future, it's like I cannot sabotage my way out of this opportunity. Like I can't let my past insecurities that I've internalized like ruin this. It's like I'm getting everything that I've always wanted, but am I ready to accept it?
I love that. I love that you said that because I've been sitting in that space as well where I'm like, I'm doing all these projects that I love, all these collabs, working with the people that are clearly on my level. And I had to sit in that space for weeks and just go, am I doing the right thing? Like, is this where it should go? And I was like, is this self-sabotage? And like, just having to recognize like, yeah, like there is more that I need to learn. Ooh, headphones, that sounds good.
Yeah, just wanted to be able to hear you clear. But yeah, no, and even the fact that you were able to sit back and think, wait, am I sabotaging myself, as opposed to just diving into the pattern of behavior is a lot of growth. Like that's incredible.
It's definitely a lot. I think, you know, this is where like as women and as women of color, as Black women, all of that, like how much has society allowed us to receive, you know? And it's like, so when we, yeah. And so when we finally are like, oh shit, okay, this is what, okay. It's a lot of conversations with the self for sure.
Yes. Like literally, like if I ask for help, someone will reach out and support me. Like that was just a shock to me. And I'm still kind of trying to accept that. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
my life would look completely different if I could just walk around and ask for help and receive it. Because I was actually thinking, I was like, this is why white people are so confident in their mediocrity, because they've lived their entire lives knowing that if I could ask for literally anything and I will get it and be recognized as worthy.
Yep, exactly. And it's like, okay, so now that we know that, now that we recognize that, it's like, as people who are doing the work in so many different ways, and just the insight that we have and the expertise we have just for living life. And yeah, I'm glad that you're here. Like, I'm glad that we're here. I'm glad that you have been receiving more and more and like recognizing your fucking awesomeness. And like, I don't know, it's just so important for us to, yeah, sit in that space. And if it takes like weeks to just sit in like, I'm fucking awesome, I receive all abundance, like all of those things, like so important. So I love that. I love that for us.
Yes, yes. And speaking of abundance, like, do you want to talk about your trip to Seattle? It looks so cool.
Yeah. So, can you say something?
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes. So yes, Seattle. Mainly it was to celebrate my friend Des, who's actually on this live with us. But
Yay.
their birthday, their 23rd birthday, and they had never been to the West Coast, never been to Seattle. We wanted to do like a big city trip. I had lived in Seattle for a few years, so I kind of was mainly going just to like meet, or not meet, but see friends again, old friends, just be around big city energy, because Raleigh is definitely a lot different. But quarantine has like changed everything, you know, like no matter how big the city is, it was definitely a bit disappointing when it came to especially like queer spaces. I think that was like the the biggest thing that, you know, we had hoped Seattle wouldn't necessarily have any issues with that, but it was a reminder that Seattle is still very fucking white. And, you know, there isn't wrong with that per se. It's just that all these people who move in, you know, especially new money, who don't really understand and don't care to understand the history of Seattle and all of that. So it was definitely like a very, you know how like sometimes some trips are more for you to kind of recalibrate. I felt like that
Mm.
was Seattle for me because I had spent so much time there. I felt like I really grew up in Seattle. But now after kind of leaving and coming back and just growing up and all the things and just doing more of what I really love and aligning with my truest and highest self, going back to Seattle was definitely like, oh, okay, like, hmm. But I do love, you know, there is a lot more Asian food on the West Coast,
Mhm.
so I can't say no to that. I'm going back in November, so I'm like, this was like part one of 2021.
Right.
But yeah, I love just the, you know, going in the water. I had never like swam in any of the lakes in Seattle, like when I
Wow.
was living there. So it felt like, okay, like my body, you know, is now developing a relationship with these bodies of water, swimming in Lake Union, swimming in Puget Sound. Those were all waters that I had just never been in. And I was like, why? Like, then this trip, I was like trying to find any moment to jump in the water because it was also hot as fuck. When we got there, I mean, it still is hot over there, I guess, but the first day we landed, it was heat wave, 100 plus Fahrenheit. Like it was, and Seattle, especially like the Northwest, they don't have AC in a lot of old
Mm-mm.
buildings. So our Airbnb didn't have AC. So it was a great learning moment, for a East Coaster to come over and be like, what? Like, so it was definitely a lot of like funny random moments. But yeah, I definitely appreciate Seattle for what it has to offer. Definitely a lot of people still need to wake up and do the work, but you know,
Yeah. But you
it's
got
just
what
a
you needed
reminder.
though.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like, what's one intention that you've brought back from the trip with you?
I love that question.
Mm.
Um, One intention, I mean, the fact that there were no white queer, or sorry, take that back. The fact that there were no queer spaces for BIPOC folks. That was like, it wasn't necessarily like I was like, oh, this is new information, but it was just another reminder like, this is why I do what I do. This is why I need to continue to center my work, my collaborations around Black, Brown, Indigenous communities. So that was probably my biggest intention overall. And just a reminder that there is always too much white space. There will always be too many until we continue to build our spaces for us.
Yes. Oh my God. And even like the intersection of, queerness and capitalism of it costs money to be able to have a space like that, to be able to maintain it and to be able to protect it from, taxes or just whatever other structural injustices. Because I feel the same way. I'm like, ugh, I want to be in more queer spaces, but so many of the bars here that are gay, which are few, are mostly white. And it's like, I'm trying to, give into my desires and, be relaxed and calm. And I can't do that when I'm in a space full of white people.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, it just makes me well, then I was like, this is why I put events together. This is why I host. This is why I gather people, and why it's really not about excluding white people. It's just very intentionally and consciously and mindfully developing spaces that center BIPOC energies. And there's just not enough safe spaces. Therefore, there's not enough spaces of love. There's not enough spaces of joy. I was seeing some like post about, oh, it's not safe spaces. We should call them like courageous spaces. And I was like, you know what? Maybe for like certain populations, like, yeah, y'all should have a bit more like less cowardice, please. But but for many other people, we don't have that shit. Like yesterday I was like venting to my partner D about just how I'm like, I get that like I'm cool and everything and I have cool friends here, but like we live either far away and we don't have spaces that we can like come together and just be in community with each other and like enjoy like good music while like just like it was just so many thoughts. And I was like, okay, I get that this is why I do what I do. I get that this is why I create space. This is why I try to connect with really non-white folk. It's really not hard, but at the same time, it's just continuing to just remind myself, like, this is why I do what I do. Yes. And like that, we need rest. We constantly have to live in courage. Like I was going to start a whole podcast and call it Exhaustingly Courageous. Cause like, yeah.
So real. Oh, God. Well, on that note, do you want to move into the questions? Because now we are creating a safe space for people to ask things.
Yes, exactly. I'm so proud of us. Yeah, I don't know which one, if you want to talk about the message that came through.
The questions. I'm like,
When I leave my screen, it pauses the whole video.
oh, I was literally just asking the same question. So, I mean, we're on the same brainwave. But I did find the question from our Instagram messages.
Yes.
About like the hypersexualization of Black girls. If we want to
Yeah.
start.
Do you want to read the question just to remind us?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just make up a name. This is from Rachel. Trope. My younger sister is Black and she's built like a young woman at the age of 13. So in parentheses, hourglass body with.
Oh no, the video's frozen. Okay, let's bring Amanda back.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, sorry.
Hey. No, you're okay. I don't know. Look, they can't handle us.
This is censorship. This is censorship.
Yep, exactly. They can't fucking handle us. I would love for you to reread it if you are able to, because I heard basically like 2 words and then it just like botched out.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah, totally. I'll start from the beginning. Okay, so this is from Rachel, made up name. Rachel says, hey, I saw your Jezebel video. Do you have any recommendation on how to deal with said trope? My younger sister is Black, and she's built like a young woman at the age of 13, with an hourglass body and hella chest and a bigger ass. It makes me nervous AF whenever she goes out because while I'm aware that what she wears or does isn't inherently sexual, I'm afraid other people will do out of pocket things or say out of pocket things to her. My mom doesn't teach her anything, and I've been stuck trying to teach her about her culture and how people may view her.
Mm.
Mm.
My first thoughts are definitely sisterly love is so important. Or just sibling, family, whatever it is, like just taking care of each other and educating each other. Um, yeah, what a question and what a place to be in. It's definitely heavy, you know, it's constantly having to take care of each other. That's the thing, is just trying to take care of yourself and also trying to take care of those that you love, and not trying to over manage or whatever, over control or any of that, because it's such a sensitive space. Like, it was 13 that they
Yeah,
said that they're
13. Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to think back. When I was 13, I definitely did not want to hear any shit from anyone.
No, no, no.
Yeah, what's your like first thought about that?
Yeah, I guess just to give some historical context, the trope that she mentions is a trope that dates back to slavery from when enslaved Black women
Mm,
were called Jezebels and saying that they were, seductresses who were tempting their white masters so that they couldn't say that they were being raped by these
mm,
men. So there's like this whole lineage
mm,
of Black women, Megan Thee Stallion gets it, Beyonce gets it, of Black women expressing any sexual desire at all, meaning that you are deserving of whatever violence or abuse that you get put upon you. Um,
mm,
so just and to respond to that, I'm thinking, back to age 13, 12 or so, that's like right on the cusp of women beginning to hate themselves. And it's like, how do you begin to protect this young girl from the world that's going to put these images onto her while still not filling up her mind with all of these different fears? Because even like you were saying, when I was 13, I didn't want to hear shit. That's totally valid. Like, why do we have to deny this young Black girl the right to be able to define her identity on her own? Like I would probably focus more so on how do I as a sister create a safe space for my sister to come to talk to me if something does happen, to where she knows, okay, if someone comes on to me, I'm not alone. I can go talk about this. Because like the problem is oftentimes that a bad thing like this will happen where you're sexually abused and then you have no one who you can talk to and you begin to internalize all of that pain. It's like we can't protect people from bad things happening, but we can hold space for them when things do. I think that's kind of what you're saying as well, of like, caring and, really showing love to people.
yeah, yeah. I didn't recognize that that was in response to the video that you had put up about Jezebel. That makes way more sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not Black. Um,
But a person of color.
but as an Asian woman, you get totally like, I still remember, and you probably can connect with this, like as a little kid, I remember it was like my first time I was wearing like this skirt, and like it was like a kind of like a cinched top, like it was kind of like, showing my belly a little bit. And I remember just getting this look from this dude that made me feel so fucking uncomfortable. And of course, my mom is not the person that taught me very much. If only she only just instilled fear of like being raped. And that was like it. Like that's all we ever really like talked about when it came to like body, sexuality, all these things. Um, but it's so true about not allowing or just creating spaces so that women or whoever don't internalize any of that and think like, oh, it's my fault for even allowing this to happen. Like, how do we, this is like, it's so heavy that I'm like, I don't even know where to like start, where to begin, where to end. It's just so many thoughts are coming out of me, but it's so true. It just becomes this like, we are not here for your entertainment. We're not here for your pleasure. And just constantly having to strengthen that side of it, because it is so much about, like, for me, I can't even, like, I don't even know where to go with all, like, I have so many thoughts that come out of this, which is why I'm like, I don't even know where to start. But yeah, it's definitely about creating those spaces for people to come to you, because I never felt like I had that. You know, I never felt
Mm-hmm.
like I had, even if it was amongst girlfriends in that sense, like I never felt like there were people that, you know, we could always like talk and vent, but we never really could further it to be about, okay, but we're not here for men. Like, yes, like the male gaze has forced us to feel like we are here for men in that sense, but we're just fucking human beings. And we're just not, we're not these sexual beings. We're beautiful beings. You know, we're just here because we have a life to live, not for anyone to be pleased in that sense. And there is so much, even down to like family, you know, down to the toxicities of feeling like you have to be a good daughter or a good sister or whatever it is for family. And it's just, yeah, it creates more and more messaging that you are just a body for something else. And it's, yeah, my body is not an apology. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and you said your body's not, what was the last thing that you said before apology?
Um,
Oh, like you're a
uh,
vessel? Oh, you're a vessel, right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean, completely. And I mean, even thinking of like, this is how intergenerational trauma works. If you become a vessel for pain, and even with the issue of not having older women to talk to, of like, if you're all the same age, you can't logic yourself out of these different issues. And the problem is often that people who are older than us, who should know better, haven't done their inner work to be able to guide us. So it becomes this kind of, mountain of pain in which we just kind of inherit their blind spots or the things that they won't talk about.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. I mean, my mom, I remember her way of protecting me was unfortunately more violent than I think she, you know, could handle. And I remember like I was super into, and I still am, of course, into like styling myself and trying out new fashion, whatever. And I remember she would just call me like a whore, like a slut. Like she would call me like all of these things in Chinese. So I didn't fully like understand it, which may have been a good thing. But she would call me that because she was like, oh, are you just trying to like dress this way so that you can go out and like have men like look at you and pull? It was just like way too graphic, honestly, for my age range. But I was like, okay, like I guess I just won't like, but it did instill, right? Like you said, like the messaging ended up becoming like, oh, so it's my fault. Oh, so I shouldn't do this. Oh, so then I started to dress more conservative in that sense, where like even like this, like covering up, right? Like I had friends who like mentioned like, oh yeah, like Tammy dresses more like conservative. And it took me a lot of time to recognize like, okay, it was, you know, it's always because I just don't want to show this, or like, oh, like Des showed me this video of this girl who had made some content about basically that when she's not wearing a bra, so it's just her like boobs and a t-shirt, and if she like passes by her brother or father, like she will like try and like do this to like not show. And I was just like, yeah, like that is so fucked. And I used to do that.
Yeah,
Like I used to
same.
do that, and it's like so fucked because it's like it's our family, which should never even go in that direction. But society's messaging makes it about female male. And it's just like, it's so many things and so much healing. Yeah, like any male figure. It is so fucked. It's just all of it is just so fucked. Like that's the thing. Like I don't want to keep necessarily going down a rabbit hole, but it is so fucked. Like all of it is so fucked.
Yeah. And I mean, even as I like dive further into my queerness and recognize that I'm just not attracted to men at all, it's like I have been socialized to conflate fear with desire, such that we fear
Mm.
all male figures, and that makes us think that we are attracted to them. But in actuality, we're just
Mm.
being activated through anxiety of, I
Mm.
must perform for you, wear this lipstick, put my tits out here, wear these heels, so that you will like me or so that you won't kill me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where like that line
Mm-hmm.
of consent and rape comes in of are we ever actually freely consenting to sex? Because, you know, someone like Andrea Dworkin, for example, in Intercourse says, you know, all sex is rape. Or rather, she says, like, intercourse is synonymous with violation because of the power dynamics of gender under patriarchy and capitalism. Of like, are you fucking him because you love him or because you need the rent paid and because he did the dishes tonight? But really, of like the labor that we put in and have to like have sex to be able to maintain a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I definitely had that thought where I was like, honestly, until like you are super conscious of society, like everything is rape. Like honestly, everything is pretty much rape until like you have a very conscious, like on the same page constantly, right? Because that's the other thing with my partner who is a male or who is a guy, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just a lot of conversations that we've had to have, like because of also trauma that I've experienced of inappropriate, any type of harassment, any type of touch that was inappropriate, like down to like when we first started dating and he would like come up behind me and it was all out of love, like I would still like flinch kind of, or like I just wouldn't receive it because I was like, there's just been so many times if I'm out, you know, a guy will like pinch my butt or like slap it or like put their hands on me. And it was just like, and because, right, of course, society makes us think like this is the only way to go about it. Like we have to settle, we have to just deal with this. And I remember just being like, what? Like, this is it? Like, this this is just so sad and no one wants this. Like no one is like rejoicing over this. Like even guys aren't. Like guys even have, you know, like if we really were to dig into that, we're not going to make space for that right now, but like if we were to dig into that, no one likes it. Like all of this is bullshit. No one actually finds any joy out of the way we date, the way we, I don't even know what to call it because none of it is like, yeah, like none of it's really consensual in that sense. We're all just playing these roles and trying to feel like we're a part of something, and it's just all of it is just not anything worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like going out and just being like, oh, do we have to deal with like toxic straight male energy tonight? Not even that it has to be like toxic straight male, but just like, do we have to deal with the energy of not being respected?
Right, right, right. And like automatically being placed in a certain hierarchy where you're at the bottom. Yeah, I even
Yeah.
saw a tweet thread the other day where someone was like, contemporary men are shook because women aren't going to marry them because they're not likable. And it's like in the past, men never had to be likable because women couldn't have like bank accounts and stuff. And it's true. It's like, if so much of male culture is built around subordinating women, then why would I want to be around you if I don't have to be around you?
Yep. Yep. Pretty much. It's like I remember having that moment where I was like, all right, I'm done with men. Like men collectively need to get their shit together or else none of them are going to be able to be, you know, specifically within cis hetero situations, but like none of them are going to be able to mate. Like there's just no one wants you. But you know, then there's like a few like specific individuals who have worked a lot on healing, and those are very precious beings in this world. But very, very few, very, very few. I remember that's why one of the reasons why I left Seattle literally was because I was like, this dating pool sucks. Like everyone here like doesn't give a fuck about, I mean, if they do, like, again, very rare. I didn't meet them, or if I did, they're just a friend. And yeah, I remember being like constantly disappointed, like all these like tech boys, all these like coders, engineers, like whatever, like just thinking they're cute because they like go hiking. And yeah, that was pretty much it. That's Seattle. Like Seattle is just like all this like new money white tech boy who like goes hiking. Pretty much it. So
Yeah. And it's like a simulation of death, but not actual death. Kind of like, you know, the transcendentalists, you know, Emerson, Thoreau, all of them going out in the woods and just kicking it out there of like, I can perform the behaviors of mindfulness or self-awareness, but when it comes to actually behaving that way in my personal life, I struggle. And I feel like that's, you know, why I love, you know, Black feminism, like women of color feminism, of these people who wrote these books practice what they preached. It's not like I'm going to write this book about going into the woods and then beat my wife. It's like I'm going to write this book about founding this, collective of radical Black lesbians, and I'm going to actually live with that collective and like write books with them, like Barbara Smith and the rest of the Combahee River Collective.
I love how you mentioned that, and then Black Feminist Books joined. Also,
Right.
Courtney joined, and
Hey!
Courtney is from Black Oak Society, so hey.
Hey! What's up?
But yes, it's like, that's the thing, is just like these models, like everyone's just, ah, so precious. I love it. Yes, defineandempower.co is an amazing page. Like, I'm so glad to see your work being like on The Guardian and like Jezebel, right? Just all these different platforms. So happy for you.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, I'm hoping it'll be a way to bring up basically everybody in our circle of like, oh, this person's good at editing, this person's good at speaking, this person's good at planning events, and we can all somehow kind of collectively come together, because that's even part of the self-sabotage stuff I was talking about, with me being able to recognize I don't have to do everything. I can recognize people's gifts and be able to grow because of that. And when I let go of my ego and my pride, we can actually build something together.
Yeah, and like not trying to control the end, the end result, for sure. That's my thing, at least. Like, remembering that true democracy takes a long time.
Yep. Oh, that control thing is so real. Even the idea of, what do I actually have control over versus what do I not? Like, therapy, I learned this term called radical acceptance that I was like applying to my parents. And it's like, oh, I have to accept that there are some things that I can't control, so I can get a better vantage point of what I actually can control. Because instead of, going about, why didn't they do that? Why did they do that? I can turn it back to me and say, wait, how can I have agency here? What can I do?
Yes, it's so true. We can only control what we can control. But that is so powerful. What it is that we can control is still so vital to everything. Yes, significant and historic change only happens in the collective. Yes, exactly. I mean, individual change and individual healing is so important, but without individual, you can't have collective. Without collective, it's all so intertwined. Yes. And it's continuing. I think the scary thing, right, is like, we try to live the same models over and over again. And ultimately, hopefully more and more people are finding out that it was never meant for us. It was never meant for any one of us, regardless of, background in that sense. It's all about paving the way that makes sense for us. And that is scary because no one else has done it. But as I've continued to do what I do, I find that, of course, I start connecting with people who are doing what I do in their own ways. And it's just so powerful to see how, as we continue to elevate and raise our vibration in that sense, we find others who are on the same frequency as us. And it's so powerful once we're, kind of like out of that like tunnel in that sense. Once we're out of the tunnel, it's just such a different, the light that is at the end of the tunnel is definitely worthwhile.
Yes, like tunnel is the absolute perfect word for it, because the kind of claustrophobia and darkness and restriction that I feel when I'm in that mode. Because I also add that it's scary for me because I have to recognize that individual healing of myself can only happen in the collective. And it's like all these skills I've learned in therapy that I've been working on for the past year or so, I have to be brave enough to go out and, mingle with people like you, people like Temi, people like Anastasia and so forth, and trust that although I can't control how every detail will happen, that there are people out there who want to see me, and people who have the same emotional depth as I do. And like, we're all imperfect, but we all want the same goal of healing and bettering ourselves and building a community. And that's a little bit scary if you've been through trauma.
Yeah. Because it's, our nervous systems, for me, like, I don't remember a lot, but my body remembers a lot, and my body will close me out. Like, even just today, this morning, I woke up and, it started raining, and then I started freaking out because I was like, oh my gosh, there's tarps outside. And Dee was like, stop worrying, go back to sleep. And I was like, you're right. Like, I need to conserve my energy on things that truly impact me in this moment, that matter. And my rest is so important right now. But yeah, it's it's scary, but I think as you know, as we continue to build these spaces, hold these conversations, share, allow ourselves to be witnessed. And I remember doing some mirror work the other day in Seattle, and I was like, I want to be witnessed. Like, I need to be witnessed. My light needs to be seen. My light needs to be felt. And I was just saying that to myself because I was like putting on makeup or something. and and it's so true. Like, it, you know, we are humans, we are in society, and regardless of how fucked up society is, like, we are here because just by being our truest, most honest, authentic, beautiful self, that is already so impactful. Just people seeing me live my best fucking life, that's impactful. That inspires, that empowers other people to continue to do their best and to live their best lives. So yes, like it's so much about doing what we love and just not giving a fuck about what other people think, because at the end of the day there will always be haters. Haters will always hate.
Yes. Yes. No, you're right. And it's like, even with that, the idea of you being a role model, you're kind of um, presenting an image of the future and the present of people being able to look at you and see, oh, I can live past 20 and have this history, or I can have this identity but still be comfortable and confident in myself. Like, even for me as a young Black woman, it was hard for me to really recognize what I wanted to be in the world because of these tropes like the Jezebel, the Mammy, the angry Black woman. And I needed people like Toni Morrison, Audre Lorde, and Patricia Hill Collins to be able to show me that there's so much more life beyond these very narrow categories. Like, they were
Yeah.
almost the catalyst to my imagination.
Yes. Yes. It's so much about presentation, representation, all of that. You know, and I've had conversations with my partner who is white passing, and I'm like, you are lucky because in that sense, you are lucky because as a white guy, you have all the fucking models of what you can be. All
Right.
of them, literally all. It's yeah, and it's like I have to remind him constantly, like, you're not a woman, so you don't understand that there's this like the other day when I was like complaining a little bit, venting about, I was just like, there's no spaces, you know, blah blah blah. And I was like, look at how easy it is for you to find brotherhood. Go out anywhere, you can find it. Anywhere. But where's sisterhood at? Where can we find, like, you know, of course, like going off of brother sisterhood, but like, where can we find that feminine energy? Like, where? And for it to be safe and for it to
Yes.
be beautifully, like, just like, where? And I'm like, okay, I get that this is yet again the spaces that I'm trying to create. So it's good for me to remind myself, but at the same time, it's very disappointing. And it's also just exhaustingly courageous, you know, like I have to constantly be, no one's going to create it for me. Okay, I have to create it for us. And that's fine. I love it. I love doing this work, but it is exhausting. It does come to a point where it's like, we would be so powerful, but they want to rip us apart. They want to rip sisterhoods apart. They don't want women sharing womanly information. You know, they don't want us to talk about how shitty pregnancy is.
Yep.
They don't
That
want us to,
part.
right? They don't want us to share what are the best ways to handle your period.
Yep.
And of course, this goes past woman or feminine, but it's just like spaces. Yeah, it's just, sorry, were you going to say something?
Oh, no, I mean, just completely like nodding along to what you were saying. But even just to add an anecdote, like, I was literally buying pads and tampons and stuff the other day, and I was like, why the fuck am I still paying for this stuff? I was like actually getting mad in Harris Teeter. I mean, it's illogical. I mean, why are we having to donate at least like $30 per month of our salary to this like essential item? And there's no legislation we can talk about to, you know, minimize this because
Yeah.
of the feeling of women in Congress being like, oh, well, I got here by being one of the boys, so I can't even act like I have any kind of feminine weaknesses. Like,
Mm.
that was like the dominant model of femininity for like the latter half of the 20th century, which is why we're in the mess that we're in now.
Yeah, I remember working in corporate and having this conversation about, you know, so many of these women leaders are here because they've been playing the man's game and they've been putting on the more masculine energy to get here, and still like our hate on women kind of energy, you know, when there's another woman leader, it just becomes more competition. And it's just, yeah, it's just repetition of the same thing in a different body. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really creepy. I mean, I'm even thinking of like, you know, in the wake of Bill Cosby stuff and Felicia Rashad, it's like a lot of these women came up because they were enabling abusers and because they were either like, you know, letting themselves be abused and not pushing back against it, or, you know, just kind of turning a blind eye and being like, well, I'm not getting treated bad, so he can't possibly be a bad guy.
Mm. Can we talk about white women wanting to be oppressed, or is that not like, we don't?
That's always on the table. That's always on the table.
It's like, I'm just gonna get tatted here, like, white women want to be oppressed.
Ah.
It's just this like idea of property. Like white women just want to be property because it's like, I don't know, like when I think about my own healing of like leaving this concept, I definitely think about how like, you know, sometimes it is hot to be like objectified in that sense. And I was like, like I can see how that could be like hot for a hot second and then it's just not hot after that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just like it's a lot. It's a lot of things to process, but ultimately the reminder that we are here to live our best lives and not to be someone's anything. Ugh.
Right. Right. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's all. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was pretty much done.
I mean, it's also kind of a product of trauma and abuse, of like not being able to separate your perception of yourself from your abusers. And that also creates for white women a kind of learned helplessness of, I've been victimized once, therefore I am permanently a victim and also a child, and therefore can never take responsibility for my actions. And like a kind of narcissism of like, I can't see beyond my own perspective. No other perspectives exist because I'm like wrapped up in my own tragic story.
Oh, so true. So true. Like wrapped up in our own tragic story. So we have no space for anyone else. And that's what they want. They want us to not have space for other people's stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel
Ooh.
like that would actually break the cycle of trauma, because like so much, you know, trauma happens through projection of like, you know, for example, your mom probably projecting her experiences onto you and assuming, oh, if you wear this, then XYZ will happen. But it's like if she could say, oh, Tammy is separate from me. This is, you know, 2004, not 1984. And here's a different set of circumstances. And how do I evaluate that, you know, in a non-activated, non-fight or flight mode? Because when you're projecting, you're literally leaving your body. You're almost being transported back in time to the moment of trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. It's just unhealed wounds just get projected onto other people.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I feel like women get hated on when they try and cultivate this divine feminine energy of people saying, well, I was never able to achieve that because I'm victimizing myself, therefore I must tear her down. Or that can't be possible because I didn't do it, so it can never be possible for anybody else. Like you've lost the ability to dream and imagine, which is exactly what the oppressor wants.
Yes. Yes. Mm. It's like, wait, you came to this country to live out your, or rather, you want to live out your dream. And when I'm living out my dream, you're like not okay with it because you have so much unhealed trauma. And I can't be responsible for your healing.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, so many things.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I can't be responsible for your healing. Even like Nicole Hannah-Jones at UNC, like the fact that she was like, it's not my job to heal this university. That's your job. Because how
Yeah.
come we are the ones who were oppressed first and then have to come in and educate people, typically for free?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And that's the thing, is just like, this is why like my work is about empowering artists, because it's
Mm-hmm.
about, remember, your value is nothing that society will ever put on it.
Yep. And yet they need it. Almost like Hortense Spiller saying, you know, if I was not here, I would have to be invented. Like, we need artists of color. That's literally what drives our culture and our economy, quite frankly. But we can't acknowledge that because that would mean giving them power.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but your work is like so important. And even just your ability to plan events and plan festivals, like being able to bring people together, not just to work and cry, but also to have joy. Like that's a
Yeah.
gift.
Yes. It's shared joy is so important. Shared laughter, like that just raises the frequency automatically.
Mhm. It literally does. It's almost like a tuning fork in a way. Because like when I'm laughing, my whole body's vibrating. And if I'm like laughing over the same
Yes.
thing, right?
Yes. I know. I'm kind of like, damn, I wish you were here so we could be,
I
together.
know. I was like getting jealous. I was like, no, not without me.
I know this isn't even lighting, so I'm like, this is like clearly like a sign.
Oh, next time. Oh my God.
Yeah, seriously, next time we have to do this in person.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, in that situation with the 13-year-old sister, definitely, going back to it real quick,
Hmm.
like definitely. Oh yeah, did you message them back?
Oh yeah, I told them that we talk about it on the show.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like as long as they're having that conversation with their sister, or like just at least starting it, like I don't know what they've done with their in terms of conversations, but at least just starting it and saying like, hey, like I'm coming for, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of what I would want to hear if, obviously it's a different situation, but like as a sibling, like depending on your relationship, I guess gauging off of that, um, where, if you're close with your sibling, then it's all obviously a lot easier to like talk about it. But ultimately, it's probably just saying like, hey, I know that you're, 13. I think that's middle school, high school. And
Yeah.
just like my experiences and just what I know of society have placed me in a, I just know that it's a time period where we're all changing, we're all growing, and there's just a lot of things about society that, aren't healthy, and wanting to make sure that, I am here for you if anything happens, if you have any questions, if you want to talk about anything, if you want to share outfit ideas or like anything, I'm here for you as a sibling, but also as a friend. I'm just trying to think like without, really making a comment, because at the end of the day, I'm not trying to, have my sibling internalize any message. I
Hmm.
just want them to know like I'm here. And I feel like just saying like I'm here is the most important part of all of that. I know we already like mentioned all this, but I was just like, like I want to think a little bit more, because I feel like if they were to listen to our conversation, do we have like a nice like action plan in that sense for them? Like I have to think of it that way. But I'm seeing Des here say maybe even teaching them where their space starts and others begin. No one impedes on your space. Yeah, like
Mm.
knowing where your body begins and ends, like knowing your agency, empowering that. Maybe it's like how many content creators are actually out there producing any of this? I mean, I want to produce content on this. Like I want to produce content to educate kids
Right.
on like body autonomy, like all of these things, like, if it's down to like also your period, all these things. Um, but yeah, it definitely would be good to like even have that conversation of like, do you know enough about your body? What do you know about your body? Like just really empowering them to one, feel secure in just knowledge of body. Because I, at that age, I was probably in terms of body autonomy taught nothing. Yeah.
Right.
I don't think I had anything. Like we had sex like education, which was of course like either it was about like STIs or it was like condom on a banana. It was
Hmm.
like still about male pleasure in that sense. Like it was still driven with that. So I mean, I can't say I learned anything when it came to respecting my body. And I definitely, got to do some like maybe more yoni healing because like there's nothing taught. I mean, there is definitely no education happening in the US school system about that. So
Mm. You're so right. Yeah, and even like teaching them about, masturbation, sex toys, sexuality, gender identity, because the sibling might be, non-binary or trans, that might be feeling dysphoric because someone is interpolating them or perceiving them as a woman and like sexualizing her in that way. Or she might be, pansexual or bisexual or lesbian and may not want male attention at all. And that feels doubly violating because not only is it, are you a man, but you're also trying to penetrate my boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even like back to what you were saying about like helping her confirm herself, of like teaching her to not gaslight herself is probably the kind of bedrock advice that I can give of how do you
Yeah.
teach young girls to be able to trust their judgment from day one and recognize, you're not perfect, you're going to make mistakes, but that you have a core self that you can always draw on because you know what's right and what's not based upon your own core values and principles. Because like
Yeah.
literally I was not taught that as a kid. Like I was never taught to be my own compass. I was always taught to like obey whatever authority figure told me what to do. And that got me into a lot of traumatizing situations.
Yeah. Yeah. All of that.
And then even for the sister, because I think that the sister is white, I think it'd be good for her to just, read up more about like Black women's experiences. I'm thinking of books like Hood Feminism by
Mm,
Nikki Kendall, Pleasure Activism by Adrienne Marie Brown would be a great book for them to read together and like do her homework assignments in. She's got some assignments in there. Um, Definitely, Sula by Toni Morrison. I'm trying to think.
yeah. Seriously. Ooh,
Yeah.
hold on. I feel like if you could write this out or something,
Oh,
that would
you're right.
be amazing. I'm just thinking like we could totally even create not like a, I don't know what it's called, like a book list or like
Yes.
a literature list. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that would be so important for I feel like everyone. But specifically, yeah, especially in a sister relationship, that would be beneficial like to do together and using that book club energy to just one like open up for language, like even down to that, right? Like how many of us could even talk about our issues when we didn't have the right words to, you know, yeah, exactly, to express what we were feeling. Like I'm still trying to figure out how to, in process of decolonizing, I still don't have all the words to talk about colonization
Yeah.
because those have never been formed. So yeah.
Yeah. You're totally right. Yeah, I'd be down to have. I wrote down the list of books that I was rattling off, so we can include that like in
Yeah.
the show notes, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're so right about language. It's almost like language has been kept from us in some ways, which is why art is so important.
Yeah. Exactly. Expression. I mean, so much of our languages have been either burned or taken or just rebranded to be something that it was not. Like, even down to like, this is kind of a side topic, but with Chinese, like characters for she, her, or like for her, him, it, or whatever, like, apparently that wasn't like, there was no difference in gender in terms of like writing until white people came through and wanted to figure out, yeah, of course. I was like, of course, that's how it worked out. Of course it was. Yet again, white people coming through and ruining everything.
Oh my God. And like imposing arbitrary binaries because they lack the imagination to do otherwise. I guess fundamentally the kind of problem there of like them being intimidated by the vastness of the universe and trying to shrink it as small as possible to be able to contain it and therefore
Yeah,
pretend to understand it, which is how we
yeah,
explain patriarchy too, of like
yeah,
making women as small as possible physically, emotionally, psychologically, so that you can contain them and pretend to understand them, like conflating control with understanding.
mm, mm-hmm.
And even like conflating control with love, because like control is incompatible with love. So it's like the white man has all of these, things in his constellation, but none of them love him back.
I love that. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And then I think of all the societies that aren't like this one, that we don't know about, that
Mm,
actually have just respect for like humanity. You know what I mean? And it's like,
mm,
it exists. It exists. Like, we just talk about these societies because we're in it. And also, they don't shut up about it. So we kind of have to continue talking about it.
mm.
but there's a lot of non-colonized areas in this world. I mean, I don't know because I don't know, but it's, yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. But I love that though. I love thinking about what we don't know that we don't know, because it makes me think of like Saidiya Hartman's idea of critical fabulation of there is so much of slavery that was lost and never recorded in the archive. And her work as an author is to imagine their humanity. And it's like what you're talking about, I think, is we decolonize through imagining what fell through the cracks. Like what is not known to us because it was protecting itself.
Yeah.
But if we tap into this kind of divine feminine energy, you know, just divine decolonial energy, we can begin to sense out what it might be.
Yes. Yes. Imagination is so powerful. Our thoughts are so powerful.
Which is why we, like, I don't know, punish it out of kids in school. Like, low-key, I hate school. Is that bad?
Nuh-uh.
PhD, but I hate school.
There's a difference between school to be educated on topics to live with, like, to live in harmony with others, and then there is, like, school that, like, gets fucked over by the government and has, like, a specific curriculum to try and brainwash everyone. So, I mean, like, there's a difference, you know? And down to just everything that the system tries to not teach, down to what they teach, all of that is just so propagandized. And that's why it's so easy to hate school, because a lot of times we went through all of that. I mean, down to like going to college, going to a master's or a PhD, like none of this was built being like, oh yeah, we want to have POC in the system. Like I remember seeing this one person who recently left university, like left after they got their PhD and everything. And they're just like, yeah, I'm going to do my own thing. And I'm like, yes, congratulations. Like it is so important to see, like, it's such my phone just sent me alarm about the flood that's coming.
Okay, I was like, oh no, is that with you?
Also, I need to charge my phone apparently. So keep talking, but I'm listening.
We were talking about, you were talking about school, doing your own thing. Oh yeah, but just even the way that we teach of like, why do we have to have all students write essays, for example? In my classes, I'll have students, you know, write poetry, make a song, you know, do a zine, do artwork, because it's like, that is privileging, A, whiteness, and B, neurotypicality. Like, you have no idea what mental conditions your students might have in your classroom, so how could you possibly make one curriculum for all of them? And especially when we consider how certain conditions like ADHD or autism present differently in women of color and people of color. Like, how can you punish them for having a brain that works in a different way that is just as valuable, but just different?
Yes, wanting people to conform to one way of being taught, being educated. Yeah, it's, I appreciate you as a teacher. Thank you for your service. And thank you for really not trying to force people to conform. Like, it's so true. Like, my mom's a teacher, and definitely, you know, it's interesting because down to like how Chinese people were taught to write, you can see that there's so much structure in how, like, you know, all the strokes should be written. So when you look at most people who are taught specifically in one certain period, all of their English handwriting looks the same. Like, it's kind of creepy. Wow. But yeah, it's so true. Like when I think about like the concept of ADHD or like ADD and all of that, like, okay, but your child is supposed to be super like energetic. Like that's just kids. They're like absorbing the world and they're releasing it out again. And we're all so magical beings, but when we're, you know, forced to conform, forced to fill in a box, to fit in a box, like, of course there's no room for magic. Like magic doesn't work in a fucking box like that. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God. I love that. I love what you said. Magic cannot exist in a box. It's so true. Yeah, and like, and then I encounter students who are just so freaking brilliant, but then they've come to, doubt themselves by like age 18 and thinking, well, I'm stupid or I can't do that. It's like, how could you consider yourself a good teacher when you are literally, beating the confidence out of your children, out of your students? I mean, I consider them children. I mean, my children, or, but yeah, but it is a kind of like parental child relationship of like, this person is trusting you as their guide. And yes, intellectual, but I mean, you're also modeling a way of life for them, almost like how you are modeling a way of life for people who are younger than you. Like teachers are always doing that, which is also why it's
Yeah.
important for teachers and healers in the community to be emotionally healed. Because otherwise, then you're projecting
Yes.
too, of like, I went through it, so you got to go through it too.
Yes. Yes. Seriously, like just the whole arena of being a teacher, like, oh, like so many thoughts, like even just being a daughter of a teacher and seeing like how, well, it was, it's a huge, many levels to this, but to a certain extent, there was also like, how can you have so much energy for them and not enough energy for me? Or how can I see you being abusive to me and feel okay with you as a teacher out there? It's a lot of thoughts, and it's just like, ultimately, I'm not responsible for your healing, but it does make me think of just my own journey and my own healing and why, like, at the age that I am of 26, like, I, a few years ago, recognized, like, with enough research and with enough articles just around me, I was like, cool, like, I get that, like, life is shit after a certain point, and that's because a lot of people don't choose to change it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't choose themselves, don't work to heal, don't take the time to like go through therapy or whatever it is that they need because everyone's trying to rush towards one model of this American dream. And it's nobody's dream. Maybe it was one person's dream, but it's just like, I don't want that success. Like, I don't want that type of success if it means like just absurd wealth and no acknowledgement of where it came from.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the price of that dream is shame, of having things that you feel you must fundamentally hide about yourself in order to be worthy of this, one model. That's how it actually, functions. It's like I don't know, the engine of it, or like that underlying framework of it. Like that's like the framework of the house, essentially. Um, yeah, even like with your mom, and even with my mom too, of like you being super nice to her coworkers and they call her auntie and mom and stuff, but then she's terrible to me at home. It's like you are so deeply ashamed of the fact that you can't emotionally regulate yourself that you have to overcompensate when you're in public.
Mm,
And that's
presentation.
indicating, right. And like that's indicating like childhood wounds of like you feel that you're fundamentally inadequate in some ways as a human being. And I can't control that because I'm a child.
Yes. Yes. Mm. And then expecting so much of us, yeah, as children. And then, of course, that's where now as adults, we constantly think like, oh, okay, like it's natural for us to be overworked, or it's natural for us to constantly be overworried or to hold space for other people's emotions. Yeah, it's so much. It's so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. I mean, even with the holding space, like I was talking to my therapist the other day too, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so worried. I don't want to like fuck up all my friendships, so I have to do the right thing. I can't be bad." And she's like, "Amanda, wait. What if you didn't have to do anything?" And I was like, "Girl, go away from me with that." But like really, I'm like, what if I could just show up as myself and not worry about, well, if I don't take care of them enough, will they leave me? And it's like at that point, I'm more worried about abandonment than cultivating a real, genuine relationship. And those two things are incompatible with each other.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Like the fact that I've had to remind myself there are people in my life that are so committed to me, that are committed to my journey. And I'm like, I've never been so like, I didn't really understand what commitment felt like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I've never been committed to my family in that sense, my blood family, because I was just like, y'all and I, we're just here because you birthed me. Like that's it. And like we aren't friends otherwise. And yeah, it creates this like it's that I receive this commitment. I openly want, I openly have it. it's a lot of work. It's a lot of internal work to get to that point of being able to see yourself as a human in a world where they don't want you to. It's constantly having to just reclaim.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. And it's like to see yourself as a human is to love yourself because, quite frankly, I had low self esteem and hated myself for so long because I almost had a split personality of here's a person who's out here in the world, you know, showing up like this, taking care of everybody. But then when I'm in my private self, I was like, I've never cultivated this inner self. I don't know who she is. I don't trust her. I'm going to abandon her. Like I would just get
Yes.
in the habit of abandoning myself because I didn't see what I was worth because I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
her. And now that I'm
Yeah.
like befriending her by, you know, sticking with myself and problem solving during the hard times and not, you know, leaving my body or whatever, I'm beginning to love that human part of myself, like the
Mm.
good and the bad parts, even like being able to integrate good and bad.
Yes. Mm. Yes. Staying in your body is so much work. It's so much
So
work. I'm so
much.
proud of you, Boo. I am so proud of you. Seriously, it's like so much work. Like nobody tells you about that. Nobody tells you, nobody pays you for it, nobody thanks you for it.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
But
Well,
I
the future
thank
will
you.
thank us for it. Right.
Yes.
Like the future thanks us. Yeah. No, but you're right. And it's like, what was I going to say? We never taught that. It's a lot of work. Shoot. I mean, yeah, because like people we see around us are typically not staying in their bodies. Like society makes it
Yeah.
very easy to escape through, you know, alcohol, drugs, sex, you know, self-harm, eating disorders. Like we've got all these things at our fingertips to keep us out of our bodies. And especially when it's
Yeah.
gendered and racialized.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the news is a huge one. The news is just there to keep us in scarcity, keep
Bruh.
us in trauma,
Doom scrolling.
right? The other day, someone was talking about the condos in Florida that like sank, and she was like, "You didn't know about it?" And I was like, "I do not pay attention to the news anymore. Like, it's too depressing." And for the most part, I will be told, like right now, like I get told the news by people that care about the right things.
Yep. I really appreciate you saying that because I felt the same way for so long, especially during the election and like the Trump years, because I was like, oh, Trump is strategically using the media to distract us, just like any classic narcissist. So I'm going to not tune into this and I'm going to focus on building what I want. And I feel like people
Yes.
often stay stuck in the news to avoid actually engaging in politics in real life because the most racist and abusive liberal white people I know stay on CNN's homepage, stay on Facebook scrolling, but don't know how to, you know, hold space for me as a human being and don't understand how violent they are, or rather don't want to accept it because that would require them to change their entire lives.
Yes. Yes. Mm. I just realized I missed a bunch of comments, but whatever.
Oh,
Um,
wait, mine aren't even loading. Oh my God. What have people been saying?
I mean, just yes, Amanda. Uh, pretty much very supportive of everything we're saying. Um,
Thank you all for your support.
yes, and when you think about who owns media, it's like the same. I remember because I was like, I want to build a media house. You know, I still am
Mm-hmm.
on my way to that, but
Yeah.
I remember looking it up, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's the classic like five richest men in this world who own all basically of the networks, like down to like even like Des and I were talking about Vogue. I was like, look at who owns Vogue, like Condé Nast, that whole family, they own pretty much every fucking publication. And it's just like everything is owned by white people, especially like just what's represented. I mean, I now only subscribe to like Asian oriented like news, but yeah, it's crazy. People, you know, more and more people are getting it. More and more people are understanding, seeing the truth, all these things, learning, educating themselves. So I find a lot of comfort in that. But as Dee said, like every day is just like a 50-50 of like being encouraged and discouraged at the same time.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost like the fulcrum is that is your ability to take back control and take back power because it's like by curating your news in that way, you are taking back some agency, which has to be a conscious decision on your part every day to basically stay in your body and recognize taking in this kind of media feels bad to my body. I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, are people willing to make that change? Because that goes beyond, you know, just reading the right books. That's like a spiritual endeavor.
Yeah. People don't, that's the thing, right? Like when you're talking about like all the work you're doing to support your friends, to support your network, and it leaves you drained and therefore no space for you to support yourself, right? And I think of just how many people, not, you know, I always try not to like repeat myself, but it's just really hard not to in this society when it is down to like white people fucking it up for us all. But like, I made that post about, you know, the whitest queer club in Seattle. And I was like, all y'all white ass motherfuckers, like, you could literally not do what you're doing right now. Like, please stop working your lame ass jobs that you're doing that make you feel like you can't choose you. Because that's the other thing, like having worked in corporate and having worked in a space where I felt like I was doing good, only to clearly see over and over again that like we didn't give a fuck about humans.
Yeah.
We were not human resources. We were like, I don't even know what to call it. But just the amount of energy that it drained from me to do something to make this income, of course, left no energy for me to, and I would run away. Like I would travel as much as I could using my PTO/sick time because I was like, this is the only time I can feel joy is through this rush. And of course, there's other people who are even more lame and like white people who do coke. Like y'all are lame. Y'all are fucking lame. Like, I will say that more and more. I'll put that on a fucking t-shirt. White people who do coke are fucking lame. And people who follow suit, also lame. But I get that we're all decolonizing at different rates.
I would love to have a conversation with a white person about this topic because...
Oh no, you're freezing.
Wait, hello?
It's still...
Did
oh, there you go, there you go. You're here, you're back.
Okay, wait. Oh, cool. When did I cut out? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, wait. So when in my rant did I cut out?
Pretty much at the very beginning.
Let me like crank myself back up. I just want to talk to one person about this because it is so hard for us as people of color to blend into these spaces. Like it literally is killing us. Like how can they go on for generations and decades and years in this kind of catatonic state of obedience? Like, doesn't it tear at your soul?
All the time. I want to have this conversation all the time, but most of the time that white person that I want to talk to isn't even like awake enough to hold that conversation for themselves. So they can't even answer me. Like they won't even hear what the fuck I'm actually saying. So it's like I would, you know what? Maybe like we could bring out like puppets or something.
Like stick figure drawings? Hi, this is...
Oh my God, it's so good. And it's just like silent. I see something happening here. I love that.
Oh my God.
I love that.
It could be like a child's cartoon. Or like the Boondocks, I don't know.
I love that. Just like finger puppets. Like, I'm Steve.
I'm Karen, and I like to snitch.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. I'm Karen, and I like... Oh, I want to show you this one piece of work. I don't know if you can see it, but it says snitch and get stitched.
Ooh, I love that.
Wait, let me pull it up closer. I realize I can take this off. Oh, okay. Never mind. I'll just take this piece off. But yeah,
Oof, yes. Did you make that yourself?
Yes.
That's incredible. It's beautiful. I love the
Thank
color.
you. Thank you. I got really into like painting one period of quarantine. And yeah, I ended up buying more canvases as a result because I was like, and I also want to host like artists, like poetry events, like in the park and get art supplies out there for, all generations to make art and all of that. So it's definitely another project coming along.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. I mean, because honestly, we're trying to have like a writer's yoga retreat in the spring. That could be part of our little adventure, like art on the beach, maybe.
Yes. You have to tell me more about like when, where exactly that all is.
Yeah, because okay, I'm trying to get like some money from Duke and a couple other people to be able to pay for this, but we'll see. Yeah, because right now it's just like me and my students basically who are trying to organize it because they don't want to go on the typical Duke spring break trip because it's fratty and white.
Yeah, ew. Wait, so this is for spring break?
Yeah,
When
is
is
that
this?
that'd be like March or April?
Okay, yeah, I mean, definitely we can talk more about this offline.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'd love to see about, yeah, so many thoughts because I've been wanting to, I hit up like this one art supply store in Rochester and I asked them like, would you be down to sponsor us through like art materials? So we could definitely see about like there's speedball, I think. Okay, sorry, I'm going way off topic. But yeah, speedball is like yeah, there's a lot. So I'd love to support in whatever ways and collab in whatever ways.
That'd be amazing if we could get the art supply sponsorship because I also work with a zine club at Elon where they make zines for like queer folk and people of color. So I wonder if we could even have like an art zine night for queer folks of color.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much.
Are we getting more comments? Because I mine are not loading.
Oh, no, I think it's mainly comment, let's see. American culture celebrates white young people who are disconnected with their soul. Yeah, fuck. To America, the beats are the acceptable rebels.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And they were hanging with black people and gay people. Like Amiri Baraka was hanging out with Allen Ginsberg and them.
And that's the other thing, right? Like the constant, like, what is the word? Constantly being used, constantly being used for your proximity, your distance from whiteness. You know how
Mm.
like they talk about like celebrating proximity to whiteness, and it's made me think about also like your distance from whiteness that gets used only to I don't even know, continue to widen the gap. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Of like, how close can they get to you without adopting your struggles? Like, how can they be you without taking on your pain? Because I noticed like so many white girls copy me. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm literally just being myself. Like, I literally just woke up like this. Like, why are you swagger jacking me? But it's like they want to be able to have the aesthetic of black feminism without the actual politics of black feminism. So that means you can, have the makeup, the hair, the whatever, but never leave, your shitty rich white husband or challenge your other white moms of the PTA.
Yeah. 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 And it's, like even thinking back to one of my friends who is part Colombian, part white. At the end of the day, she's white. So, I mean, it's just like when I was telling her, because she was with us at this club, and I was just like, yeah, we were really disappointed. That's why we left because it just wasn't welcoming or made for non-white people. And you could just tell, like, her first initial response was to basically be on the side of whiteness, was to basically, not that she was trying to, like, I knew that, this is the classic, like, when you're white and you're unwilling to distance yourself from the privileges of being white, Like, it's just so obvious. And I mean, I could tell that I was not having a conversation with her at that point. And so I didn't like keep it going, but it just makes me go, like, she isn't someone who isn't willing to listen. Like, she does seem like she's a person who, if we were to sit down and talk, like, she'd be a lot more open to it. But that's where I'm like, am I willing to take on that labor? You know, like, it makes me think, like, I love you as a friend, but we're not that close. If we were, we would not be here.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's kind of, it can be traumatizing too, kind of believing in a pipe dream of hoping that I'll be the one to make you change. Almost like with an abusive partner in a way. Like,
Exactly.
I can heal you, but there's never
Exactly.
any guarantee of A, what can you do for me, and B, will you actually change? Like, they have all the power still.
Yeah. 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 If they want to educate themselves, they will make it known.
Mm-hmm. And if they want to have proximity to me, they will also educate themselves and change. Like, I've had to, tighten up my boundaries of, like, there were a lot of white folks who were getting access to me who didn't have the capacity to show me care. What sense did
Yeah.
that make? I was literally giving away my power.
Yeah. So many good commentary. So many good topics. On the other side, in terms of bad news, I think I rolled this way too tight. So it's like, I can't even pull it.
Oh no. And you can't even kind of fiddle with the thing.
Well, so I got way too premature in one thought process. So I like already like broke this piece, because basically I'm probably just going to re-roll this. Slash, clearly this is the universe saying you and Amanda should never do this, not live or not in person.
Not without weed.
Yeah.
Together.
Yes, we have to be together to share this.
Oh my God. That'd be fantastic. We should do this again like next week or
Next
the week
week.
after. Yeah, next week. Okay.
Yeah, let me know. I can.
Wait. Hello?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out for like 6 seconds.
Oh, see, I forgot that like when I leave this video, it like totally removes me. Okay, well, I was trying to look up my calendar, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to touch anything.
Yeah, we'll just like text about it.
Yes, definitely. I love it. I love setting up the vibe. I got some like fake plants if you need anything to like help with stuff. Yeah, I got you.
And the Black Feminist Hotline placard.
Oh, yes, I definitely. Wait, let me see if Oh, I just have the on air right now.
Ooh.
Yes, I'm gonna bring all the letters.
Okay, cool. We will set it up.
Yes, it's gonna be a vibe. I also want to host a poetry event soon, here probably. So yeah, that's definitely gonna be another thing. Don't know if it's gonna be this month because it's like July 8th. And I guess no, I guess there's still some time before the end of this month, but or maybe next month. We'll see. Yeah. But I'm excited to start doing things like physically in person.
Yeah, we need that community and that warmth.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm down to wrap it up. Would you mind emailing me the recording of this so I can have it edited?
Yeah. I'll figure it out. If it can't be emailed, I'll figure it out. I don't know. Have you ever downloaded? Oh, okay.
Or even just like text it to me or like whatever, just like send it to me and I can fiddle with it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Also, let me know which student of yours, or if they're interested in like doing paid work or anything. Because with just my events, I'll definitely need people to record, audio and video. So
Ooh, cool. I will. Mia's like super talented, so I can ask her and then see if she's down to collab. I'm sure she would be.
yes, awesome. Thank you, love.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, I'm so glad we did this.
Yes.
And yeah, I feel like this is a good, because naturally just who we are, we're gonna like talk about everything.
Right.
So yeah, this is perfect.
Yeah, super organic.
Yes, exactly. I love
Okay,
it.
okay. Okay, bye. Talk to you soon.
Bye, love.
Bye.
Bye.